This episode is brought to you by Neo Books and Coffee. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, and a coffee bar that serves and sells the finest quality coffee beans and exquisite teas. I wanted to tell you about our new event, the Women Digital Festival, where we are hosting our first ever... Sorry. Sarah Taibah is an actress, illustrator, and writer. She began her acting career by playing the lead role in the Saudi short film Zaina's Cake. Sara is also a screenwriter and actress in the top Showhead show Nimra Thnain. Welcome, Sara. One of the things that I've done is actually when I make new friendships and we get close, or when I develop stronger bonds with my girlfriends, I talk about dating, and my dating life, because I'm married now, but I see a lot of single women struggle to figure things out, and it is a very hard, finding a partner is one of the hardest things you can ever do. My mom always says, you can get a great career, but getting married or finding the right person for you is the hardest thing, because it's the variable is not about you and how much you put into it you get out. It's you have to find the right dynamic. So I love talking about my dating experience, and people are always shocked and I'm yeah, so this is what I learned from this experience, and that's what I learned from that experience. And like you said, it's okay to pass on shared experiences about subjects that we are taught, let's not. But I own it. This is a part of I actually think I'm a better wife, partner now, because I've had some experiences that have prepared me and made me really mature. So
how I feel about it, it's always I've lied so many times with my parents when I was a teenager. I lied so much to the extent that I'm never gonna lie again. When people say don't talk about your past, especially if you're committing with someone now for marriage, I'm no, if he doesn't want the whole package, something is off. And mom always goes Sara, what's up? The more you get older, there's this rage, there's this anger towards men. What's up with that? I'm well, mom. She's you're never gonna get married. I'm well, mom, if I ever find someone who I love more than my freedom, I'm definitely marrying him. She's no, it has nothing to do. I'm it has everything to do with each other. So it's just كبرنا, and we grew up always hearing no's as a girl, as a Middle Eastern, أنا خليجي girl, always heard a no, or ما له داعي. كل ده الكلام خلاني I have zero tolerance right now as a grown-up badass woman. Zero tolerance for a no.
Learning from such a young age to lie to get your way, it's such a weird kind of lesson to learn.
One-on-one to success, as to have fun as a teenager here, is to lie. I remember my friend once told me, Sara, باقي واحد شيء، باقي بس تقولي لأهلك رايحة بيت ماريا وتكوني في لندن، بس باقي سفر من كتر ما everything I said and the no's were literally when you said Chili's, I laughed because the no's were over stupid things. الكلام ده طبعا وأنا صغيرة. When I got older, everything got better. بس yeah, I lied a lot as a teenager, a lot.
So right now you're part of the super hit show on Showhead, and it's gone viral. And, I've seen you pop up on my Instagram through multiple accounts with a lot of people really celebrating your performance. So can you tell me more about how this Showhead show happened? You're also the screenwriter, you wrote the script. Wow. I just saw a masterclass with Shonda Rhimes, and she, I have so much respect for, writers of shows. Tell me about this incredible experience.
It was very surreal to me how it all happened. I started acting maybe 2015 with friends on a small project and short films, and we did a feature film that was screened, the first Saudi film in the Saudi theaters, and small things that were happening. But then I felt a desperate need for different women roles and real and authentic and normal girls, not necessarily too polished or too pretty or too silent or too minimal or too sidekick. I wanted more roles for like women, and I did, and all like my one of my closest friends, he used to tell me always, Sara, I beg you, write, please write. And I'm like, no, I write a lot as poetry and art performances and things like on paper, but nothing like structured. And I started writing 2 years ago, and I started like to feel my own, and I binge everything. So like everything I learned is through binging, not a school or anything. And then I wrote things that I love that hasn't been produced yet or anything. And in the middle of that, suddenly someone who, like one of the producers of the show, she met me at a director's place in Cairo once, and she remembered me because Showhead asked for a Saudi episode. And she called me, and when she called me, I'm like, interesting. And she told me that it's an anthology. Each episode is separated, so you have nothing to worry about at the other episode stories. And it's about love triangles and the second love that comes in your life and stuff like this. I'm like, wait, what? She told me this. I'm like, yo, I'm definitely the right person for this. Because I love relationships and I love vulnerable. Like, I love this genre so much. So I'm like, yeah, I think I can do it. And I wrote it, and it was one of the projects that happened fast, you know, that happened, like I just felt it. It happened, and the idea came, and I wrote it. Like, it wasn't a long process, specifically this project. And they called me to act in it, and I'm like, can I please suggest my amazing director friend, please? I want the director to be from, like, lived in Saudi as well. Someone knows the culture. It happened, and in the beginning we were intimidated, honestly, with all these big names, amazing names. But honestly, the feedback's been so good. But after the actual episode aired, this intimidation just vanished, and people were like just amazing feedback.
How did you feel when that happened? Did you feel like you manifested this, like this is what I wanted, or as you were writing the last 2 years, or did you feel like this is a surprise? يعني هل كان شيء أنت متوقعته?
The writing part, no, because it was random. I didn't expect that. Okay, I love Cairo so much, and I go to Cairo all the time, and I have friends there, but I never thought that I'd be part of, and they're like pioneers in the cinema and the film industry. So I didn't expect that I'll be able to join something that's with like amazing big names from Cairo, and it's Saudi. I didn't know that this would be appealing to anyone to know anything about a love relationship in Saudi, you know? I didn't think that. So this, I was surprised. But honestly, in acting it, I wasn't surprised because, yeah, I feel like I manifested this. Like, I wanted to write roles that I'd like to act, you know?
Can you tell me more about your writing process? I'm obsessed with writers and their process of working. What's your strategy? Do you do like, I write 1 hour a day no matter what? Do you do morning pages? Do you do 3 hours a day?
I absolutely have no answer about the process of writing. But from experience, like my small experience is, I think I'll have a writing flow, like writing for hours and hours a day till my screen glitches because it's an old laptop and I need to stop. And some days I'll just do nothing and just bum around. And in my head, that me bumming around and binge watching things is actually subconsciously learning about structure of writing. So this is how obsessed I am, and this is how like I make myself feel better about doing nothing. So I think I love group, not writing. I love group, not any group, depends. But I like ping pong ideas and notes and notes on my phone. And like I feel like this is a good joke that could go in one of the things that I wrote. I'm not sure which one. So I have this folder of jokes to where I can reuse later or something.
Did you see these movies where there's, the late night shows and there's like the room with all the writers? Like, I feel like you would be perfect there because you ping pong ideas.
I went to shadow one writer's room in Los Angeles. It was a show that I wasn't crazy about, but I went in their room and then I'm like, is this La La Land? And when you shadow, you don't talk. You see people, like 13 people around the table talking, and I'm just like, wow, La La Land. And then one of the writers like look at me like, what do you think? I'm like, huh? am I part of this now?
So did you study in Los Angeles?
Los Angeles?
Not really. I studied.
No, sir. Yes.
I did my MFA in illustration in San Francisco. However, last year, a program that I love so much and very grateful for. It's called MEMI. It's Middle Eastern writers. They choose some of the Middle East writers, and they put them together in a 6 weeks program in Los Angeles, with writers. And it's all about writing, and you go sometimes to shadow there and then you pitch your ideas, and this is where I got an agent actually through that program.
What did you learn from that program? Like the one most powerful thing that you learned?
It's such a fresh thing to have a fresh eye. Like you go to someone you trust to see what you've been doing. It's just such a fresh perspective. Sometimes it fixes everything. Another thing I learned that it's so sexy to pair instinct and what it feels right and what's raw and real with structure. Because everything before that course, I was just instinct. This feels right. This is so real. This is raw. But having this with actual studied structure that is so subtle that it just makes whatever your instinct told you to do just so much better. This is like the sexy. Another thing that theme is so much important than plot. The theme, the world, let's say I'm doing something quirky. If everything is screaming my theme, the plot isn't necessary. Like it is, but not that necessary. Like theme is first.
So you got an agent. How did that happen? And were you looking for an agent to begin with?
Not at all. I wasn't looking. Like I didn't know why would I need an agent in an industry that's not so big in Saudi. So I feel like already everyone knows everyone. Already I didn't know how important it is. And then when I had one, I just my whole life changed. It's just the rational part of me. It's so much bigger than what I thought. And I wasn't looking for it. I just went to pitch with a lot of people, and they liked me and they approached me, and I'm like, yes, I like you too, and it happened.
Has that helped your career in any way?
Having an agent actually really helps you with the financial part, because as artists, we're like just focused on the creative side, and sometimes we're not getting our what we deserve, as a rate. So having an agent who's been there and been around, and you know your value as a creative really helps you in making contracts and all that.
I think this is so powerful, Sara, because I feel like in this part of the world, the creative industry is still very small. There's no ecosystem. So in the States, for example, or in LA specifically, or that part of the world, they have a very sophisticated ecosystem. So like you said, if you pair someone who knows how to negotiate, knows rates, has contracts, and can fight for you, I think, it's very powerful, because like you said, you get what you deserve. And you can do what you love best, which is being creative, and you don't have to split yourself in two. Because like you said, I don't like accounting or math, but I do run a company. But it makes so much sense for me to hire somebody to handle that, so I can do what I do best, which is customer acquisition or pitching or creative directing. You know what I mean? So I totally think it's great, but a lot of people have had bad experiences with agents. They've hired people who've either taken advantage of them, who they themselves don't know what they're doing, by the way, and they're trying to wing it. So how important is it for you to have hired or worked with an international agent versus a local agent? Have you been approached by local agents in the past?
Never. It's my first time, and it's so tricky, because some things are really things here in our part of the world isn't in order, and when you compare it to the American module, or a lot of things lose in translation. So it's not I'm just focusing on the creative part and forget everything else. It's not. I mean, it's the dream, but it's not. So for sometimes I feel I have to tell the agent about how things is in this part of the world, and how things sometimes don't go this way. And so it's tricky.
Let's go back a little bit to 2015. You said you became an actress then and you studied illustration. Can you tell me more about how you transitioned from illustration to acting? What happened there for you to make this huge career transition?
Well, I didn't transition. I do it all. Like, I really believe in being multi-passionate. I really believe in that in order for like a human to thrive or reach their maximum potential is to do whatever they feel like doing if they're passionate about. Like, I always say, like, the golden ages, like a person يعني في العصر النهضة مثلا كان النجار هو شاعر هو دكتور هو a lot of things. بعدين like came the الثورة الصناعية خلت كل شخص يركز على واحد شيء. خلاص إنه focus on one thing ولا you're going to be distracted. If you want to be a great writer, you should just focus on writing and خلاص سبيكي من I don't know what. But I believe إنه as a creative, as long as it's, for me personally, I'm not sure it's right. If it's under the umbrella of the art, everything supports everything creatively. So I do illustrations. I do for children's books illustration. I do sometimes I write poetry for music. I write. I act. I do whatever I feel like I want to do creatively. So it's happening still. But what I studied, it was illustration.
Okay, so I understand that because when you're an illustrator, you mix both text and images, and you have your own style in creating these gorgeous or beautiful drawings, which you do. And then, but where did the acting come from? Because that's not necessary. It doesn't. I understand poetry, writing, being a creator in that sense. So where did the performance aspect come from?
Well, I was in San Francisco doing my master's, and my friend was doing hers in Los Angeles in filmmaking, and she had like a graduation, I think, project to do this film, or not a graduation, not sure. And she called me. She visited in San Francisco, and she told me, "Hey, I have the script. Read it. I want you to act in it." I'm like, "What?" She's like, "Yes, Sara, خلاص, read it. I want you to act in it." And I didn't know anything about that industry back then, and we didn't have an industry back then. And I read it, and I fell in love with it. And I fell in love with the camera, and we did a short film. Surprisingly, it did so, like we say it's like the charm film. This short film went through to like maybe 17 film festivals, like small ones and a bit bigger ones, but it went around so many places, this film. Till the point, like the director, who happens to be my really close friend, who she's like, "Enough about this film. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want anyone asking for it." So like this was like my lucky charm beginning. اسمه كيكة زينة للمخرج ندى مجددي.
You said that you fell in love with the camera. Can you tell me more about that experience?
It was so weird, seeing your. I really appreciate my first time. لأنه I didn't expect how I usually like look in front of the camera and how my feelings look, and like seeing you sad or seeing you happy, it's just weird. So like when I saw it, I felt like, oh wow, like when I'm in it, I forget about it. Like, I forget that it exists, but I love that it exists, the camera, It's just, it's like a magical portal to me.
Actually, who are you creating the art for? Is it for yourself? Is it for customers or clients?
So basically, when I first came back from San Francisco, my full-time job was illustrating kids' books written by different authors. So the publishing house would contact me and I would do it. And like the best publishing house in the Khalij world, it's in Sharjah. I love it. They're in Kalimat, and they love me back. So I did a lot of illustrations for them. But when I got more and more into writing and acting, I became so selective. I only choose the books that I really believe in the text, or I really want to have this cute author illustrator marriage with this specific writer because like I love her or him, And last thing, I actually am about to publish my first, like next year, publish my first written and illustrated book.
And who are you publishing this with?
Hopefully, still it's not locked, but hopefully it's the same publishing house that I illustrated so many times before.
So can I tell you about some of the things that I find so challenging about the publishing industry as well? I mean, these are like the challenges of like creative life. But, you know, we have a culture here where we pay publishers to publish content and they don't necessarily distribute it. There's not a lot of transparency in where the books are being, you know, sold. And my question is, you know, like internationally, if you do get a book deal, you know, you usually get an advance, you are able to really like, you know, you have all the kind of agreements in place. Things are really clear about what you can and cannot do. And you're basically getting paid to be, you know, to put out creative work in the world and to get your work published. Do you find that this is the case as well in this part of the world?
I haven't like published with outside the Khalij world, you know. And since I'm just the illustrator, so they pay me as a commission. It's different with the author. So it's my first time now. The book I want to publish, the one I wrote and illustrated, this first time I'm struggling with this, but in general, all over the world, especially here, it's a tough market because you don't make money in it at all. It's like it's barely, يعني يدوب, you know. It's not an industry that's why I do it for this. I do it for the sake of art and love and passion. It's not where I make money, you know.
For somebody who's trying to live a life where they're creatively, they're doing multiple, you know, things to, not even to like make ends meet, but also, because you know what, this reminds me a lot of my student days. Like a lot of people there would do, you know, different things in order to, you know, the totality of the 3 or 4 roles would equal one income, you know, but it'll give them the freedom to like choose their projects.
I think like when I think of Multipassionate, it's not necessarily a best case scenario for my pocket, you know. That was just fulfilling the passionate part and passionate side in me, but how to fulfill like your pocket as well. I think it's a matter of what industry. Like no matter how much I worked so much as an illustrator, I wouldn't be making the money I make in filmmaking, and that's just an industry thing that it's not in my hand, you know. So some industries are like better than industries when it comes to how you deal with clients. Like for example, in the illustration world, I have the cutest clients ever. Like it's such a comforting procedure, you know, to make a project with in that industry. But in filmmaking, so much better money, but so much tougher relationships and so much hectic things happen, you know. So I think that's a price you pay, sometimes with your pocket, sometimes with your energy, you know.
What would you advise people who are trying to do this? Would you ask them to go where the money is, or to stick out their creative paths, or to just, you know, take it as they go? Like, what would your advice be for someone who's like, I want to be a creative person, I do multiple things, how do I do this? How do I grow myself?
I think I have two separate advices. One, the one that takes over, that first before that, you have to ask yourself, what is your goal? Like if her or his goal is to be I don't know, very famous and in every project and big, and it's different than someone who wants to be very independent and niche and specific. So whatever the dream goal, the advice can be different, you know. Like for example, if someone wants to just fulfill their creative side without being grand or famous, then my advice would be selective from all the worlds you like to tap in, whether art and filmmaking and stuff. Be selective, be niche. It's okay to take time till you make it, unless as you're doing like small choices that you're so proud of and so independent, so specific, and you have a style overall. And I kind of lean towards this more, but that's less money. And if someone wants to be the like most famous or the best or the most grand, then do more commercial work and get more money and show your face more.
We're very proud to announce our collaboration with a brand that we strongly resonate with and are huge fans of. The Woman Power podcast will be sponsored by Neo Books and Coffee for our upcoming season 4. Neo Books and Coffee is an independent bookshop and coffee bar housing a wide collection of both English and Arabic books, stationery, and gifts. Their coffee bar serves and sells quality teas from tea pigs and only the finest Arabica beans. They also have a coffee app available on both iOS and Android devices. The Woman Power podcast is delighted to be working with our new partners and look forward to producing more meaningful content and recognizing our goals together. Watch the space for more exciting details. One of the things I like about you, Sara, is you're a finisher. You're very focused, but also, which is not easy, I think, for creative people who maybe procrastinate or, sometimes it's too dreamy, like we spend maybe way too much time creating and not enough time actually getting to the finish line. But when they called you to write that script, you had a short amount of time. You're like, it came to me. That's something you completed. You're doing a children's book now. You're illustrating, you're writing. My question to you is, what makes you a finisher? What has helped you become a finisher?
I think the bright side of me being مستعجلة and anxious is I tend to focus on like being anxious and stressed and finish things more than being a perfectionist, and I feel like if I can put feel and soul and blood in it, it's gonna be great and awesome and raw. It doesn't have to be perfect. I think استعجالي harmed me in things in life, like making decisions and stuff, and also like benefited me, like I believe, I'd like to believe لكل صفة في two sides, not necessarily just bad. Even my anxiety, I don't fully hate my anxiety because it made me like make things and make sure it happens fast and in the way I want, and somehow it's cliche what I'm gonna say, but I think I took perfection in the imperfections path. It's cheesy, but I like incomplete, real. Like I would like a pimple in my face on screen if it's relevant to the character,
I love that, and I always say progress over perfection. And I see this in a lot of women, I'm not ready, it's not ready, I can't submit this, I'm not proud of it, it's not perfect. So then they miss out on opportunities because things are half-baked or they're not full or, it's not complete.
In my head, nothing is complete. No art piece, no film, no script. Nothing is complete. Nothing is perfect. So if I'm going to critique myself anyways later, might as well, like everything I loved, like watching, I'm sure the creator thought it's not complete. And that's thing humans do to themselves. So if you digest the idea that there's always something to critique, and just do your best, do your best, grow, kick ass, do more, do your best, grow, kick ass, do more.
Tell me about growing up in Jeddah. How did you cultivate creativity as a young girl?
See, I have I was listening yesterday actually to a podcast about المدن وحب المدن, and I think sometimes humans like to feel special, that they have the special relationship with their city. But I think I share this with a lot of artists and a lot of humans that we have this like strange relationship with our own city. Like there's so much mixed feelings in the way علاقة مختلطة ومتلخبطة, مع جدة. I love Jeddah. I can't, I thought at some point I want to leave, but I think I always come back to Jeddah, and Jeddah is like a melting pot. There's so many cultures, there's so many diversity, and it's a better place if you feel a misfit in the world, like you feel like you're with misfits, It's a nice place where you find the closest place to like a third place, if I'm making any sense.
I think when we're younger, we always want to escape, but when we escape, we want to come back. And I think we come back when we are ready to add value and to find our, not even find our place in the world, when we know our place in the world, and then we try to search. Like, I always feel like I came back to Bahrain because I'm needed here. And, Europe is amazing, but because I studied in London, but it's so full, it's saturated. But here there's so much space to do things, I feel like we're we're the shakers, we're the makers, you know? So
I hear you and I agree with you 100%. I feel it's such a fresh feeling to know that I'm growing and Jeddah is growing. Like we're both growing. It's not like I feel like, you know, an outsider of how am I going to make it in this huge world, you know? It feels fresh to grow with your city, to grow with your industry, and to be like kind of like within part, like alongside with the pioneers, if not one of them, you know?
Yeah.
you're an advocate of positive and prominent representation of women in art. You mentioned very humorously in your Instagram bio, you're 63% feminist. What does that mean?
Actually, that was part of a pitch I was pitching. I feel like I always aspire to be the feminist, the voice of women, etc. But deep down, I'm 63%. Like I like specifics. Like I'm sure that like the 37% would be sometimes politically incorrect, sometimes anti-feminist because things are embedded in my head as adat or something like accidentally. For example, I blame myself all the time that I didn't speak up when a woman needed me to speak up, and deep down I believe like I stand with her, but like العادات or situation have made me like not say something or not be brave enough and say yes, this happened to me, and I try to change this every day, you know, and talk about and not be ashamed of the situations I was in because of like, you know, even like when we get harassed in the streets every day by men, like sometimes you're embarrassed to share this and speak up. All these times I wasn't a full-on feminist makes me not say, yo, I'm a feminist, I know better, I know, no, I know. Although I admire people who are all out about being feminist. I would love to be like full on true to myself. But this percentage is just a funny approach to say that I want to be like a 100% feminist, but I'm not, but I'm working on it. Maybe next year it's going to be 67. We don't know.
Do you remember a situation where you wish you spoke up?
Not a specific situation, but I remember moments where like someone told me about like a situation a woman suffered from because of a man, as usual. Like I questioned in myself his side of the story, or what if it didn't happen like this, you know, in my head, like sometimes between myself and me, not full on support my fellow woman. Sometimes makes me feel like am I not, you know, a feminist enough, or am I like letting another woman down because I didn't speak up, you know? Or even all that, like on a simpler example, like all these times I didn't stand up for myself and I heard no just because I am a woman, you know? Or like I don't know, like all these small situations as an Arab woman, you know? Even especially when I was younger, like I was younger, you know? I didn't have the courage to say, hey, no, this is not right, etc.
What do you think all these streaming wars means to the Arab world in terms of the film industry? You know, we're watching, you know, Netflix go against Disney Plus and Apple Plus, and they're all kind of trying to grow their streaming platforms. And all of a sudden, really recently, you know, there's been a couple of multi-million-dollar Netflix deals happening with local Arab people that are very close to our age. I think both men. Like I know about 2 Netflix deals that are with groups with you know, a bunch of guys, which is, you know, excellent for our region. But also, what do you think it says about what's happening to us in terms of film right now?
I always like to believe that I don't like going just with the trends. But if the trend is focusing on women, then fuck yes, because it's a deserved, you know, it's a finally happening thing. So I think it's a fresh time for all platforms to focus on stories by women, told by women, written by women, and enough content about women written by men, and ending up with characters 2D or like from the male perspective. I mean, nothing will tell a story about women better than a woman, you know? So I think it's a fresh time, and it's smart time for them to take more women.
But are we getting these opportunities? Because right now, like I said, Netflix, I think, signed 2 deals with 2 groups of Saudi guys or boys or men, or for them to create content. So my question to you is, I haven't seen yet a single female, director, Arab woman possibly get, some of these Netflix deals or projects in. So I'm sure it's coming, but what do you think is happening in the region in terms of, like, why are people now thinking, okay, let's invest in younger people telling their stories, like Arabs?
I think there's like, it's just a stream of conscious. I'm not sure what I'm gonna say now, but I think it's there's this war in these like platform, and the creators of these platforms. I think there's a war that they want to tell stories about women, but they know that stories by men is more commercial or make more money. Like, for example, us women, we would watch a show by men, about men, and enjoy it if the story is good. But it's less likely for a man to watch a show by women, about women. It's like as if the target audience of things about men is both genders, but things about women is just more for women. So like less money for these platforms. I think that's what they're thinking, but that's about to change and has to change if they want more equal, a more equal, where the whole world is heading. And if they want to be progressive, I think they should hire more women and hear from more women. And to be honest, like the percentage of the women creators, let's say in the film industry, is less than men, just because there's like no room for that. But like we're بنعافر ونحارب to make room for women creators, and it's about to happen. It has to happen. It'd be stupid not to happen.
Who do you look up to, Sara, in terms of the film industry?
There's so many people like I look up to in the world and in the Middle East world. Like, for example, I would like to introduce more and more the creator term. Fleabag, Russian Doll, Broad City, all these Chewing Gum, all these shows were written and created by the woman who's acting in it, Like, I think this is fresh and strong and needed, And I didn't do, like, for example, the episode I wrote, it's not the perfect scenario where I created the show and I starred in it, but it's a glimpse of that, And I feel still in the Arab world, people are not doing it. And that's what I like to introduce, And the people I look up to in the Arab world, it's like screenwriters such like Mariam Naoum, And I was really lucky she was in my room, writer's room, when we did the Los Angeles 6 weeks program with Mimi. Mariam Naoum and me were in the same room, and it was so fresh to see like a woman who actually made it in the Egyptian filmmaking industry. Like, she wrote beautiful shows that تابعتها وأنا I wasn't even in the industry yet, And automatically you see the difference when someone like her writes a show about, a woman, and it shows it shows like a woman in her normal, natural habitat, and you can tell the difference. So these people I look up to.
What is your dream project? Like, I'm sure that somewhere in your beautiful mind, you want to work on something and you want it to be distributed by a certain partner. Do you have something that's like, this is the project I'd love to work on, write it, act in it, and I want this organization to distribute it for me, or to sell it to this distributor?
Yes, of course. Like a perfect scenario to write and create a show and start. I'm gonna repeat that. My dream is to create a show and star in it about like a Saudi woman who's a feminist and who's struggling, and like be, let's say, on HBO and produced by A24. Like, this is like the perfect scenario in my head, and be seen internationally, with subtitles.
Do you want to direct? Is that something you're thinking of, or are you just enjoying being the writer and the actress?
See, like my two close friends who I always work with, one is a director, one is a writer. They always push me to direct, and I always say no, I don't want to. It's like when people push me to animate and I said no, I don't want to, and everyone believed that I could animate, and I say that, you know what, I can't. I don't have like a capacity إني أستحمل that pressure of animating. And it's the same. I feel like I feel so pressured, and sometimes I feel insecure that I don't want to direct. But all my close friends who I work with, they say like, you talk as a director, you don't talk just as a writer. يعني when you say things, حتى when I write them, I don't write them with the writer tone. And sometimes I write them with a director tone. And my director friend, he goes like, خلاص directed أنتي, don't come to me, أنتي directed. But I feel like I'm still like not sure if I want to do this or not. That's why being a creator or a co-direct, like being a creator, you're an executive producer as well. You get to have a say in the edit room, and that's the director's job. So I like to think of myself as a creator right now. Later on, if being a director comes in the way and I do it, maybe, but it's not something I want to do right now, you know?
But, what is your relationship like with money? And do you feel that now, by doing all these things, you're writing, you're acting, you're illustrating, are you making a good living by doing all those things? Are you paying yourself what you feel you deserve?
I don't know if I shy away from money talk because I'm a woman, or I shy from that because I'm me. But I'm just horrible with money, and I'm blessed that I don't need so much things. Like I don't like to buy, and I don't like all the money I had. I spent it on travels, and I never struggled with the idea that I want more money. But having an agent and writing more and getting more money, like I've never, like recently I can say I make money. But before that, I just sustain my livings, but I don't make money. So I think I shy away from that because I'm bad at it. I'm bad at finance. And I don't expect myself to be good, Like I don't want to add this to my
Right.
I don't know, like I don't want to add this as something I'm passionate about.
Oh, it's so interesting because I feel like for me personally, I went to school, and my parents had jobs and they worked in my mom worked in a bank, my dad worked in a consulting company. But, we're just taught like money's abe, like, you don't share information about like how much you're making or what you're doing with it. And it's just something that's off the table. You know what I mean? But I agree with you. Like for me, making money doesn't mean I get to buy more things. I hate shopping. I actually get anxiety when I go to malls. I just borrow my mom's stuff, and she's thankfully like is a great dresser and she invests in pieces. So I just walk into her wardrobe when I used to live with her and be like, okay, these shoes, that dress, whatever. But for me, money is just another tool for me to keep doing what I love to do. So if I want to take this online class, if I want to, like you said, like go on a trip to do something I love, like, or learn something new, or go in a group, or, or go to a retreat, or whatever it is. Like for me, money is the opportunity to keep pursuing what I love to do, which is a luxury. You know what I mean? You don't always get to reinvest back in yourself. So I always feel like making more of it just helps me get to my goals faster, right? So like if you have a project, for example, and you need a web developer, or you need someone to write, I don't know, a business plan for you, like that stuff you can outsource, so that requires funding.
For me, best thing about like making more money is I get to be more selective of the projects I take, whether illustration or acting projects or writing even. But like so making more money gives me that luxury of being more selective and end up giving an image of like what type of an artist I am and what type of projects I say yes to.
It's freedom, isn't it? It's the opportunity to choose. So you're not like, okay, I have to do this because I need to like pay my bills this month. It's like, no, I want to make more, so I can choose like to say no to all these other things I don't want to do. I love that. I haven't thought about that in that way.
100% yes. Like if I just do acting, I'd have to take more projects that I am not crazy about just to make more money. But since I do other things, I can be selective in what role I want to do, especially if I'm not aiming to be the most famous. I just want to be famous for good stuff.
What is the future of film like in MENA? Do you think it's, what do you think we're going to expect to see in the next 5 years?
I think it's such a fresh time to be a filmmaker, you know, like especially in MENA and specifically in Saudi, because suddenly things are booming just in the last 2 years. So there's high demand for Saudi content after years of no influence or no content, you know. So I think it's a good time to be here. It's a good time to make things now.
What can you tell me more about Rasma and Kilma? Is that something you still have? It's a design house.
No, like it's something I created when I first came back from San Francisco. Like I wanted to, for this to be the name of everything I illustrate, whether it's children's book, like it's purely for illustration and design. But I didn't I didn't register the name, and I continued illustrating things under the name Sarah Taibah, you know.
How were you during COVID? Did you really struggle in this time to just create, or did you actually find this like a blessing in disguise?
Alhamdulillah, the only thing that saved me during these crazy times and this year was making art and finishing projects that I didn't finish. So if I don't have something I'm doing creatively, I would literally go nuts. So like it saved me. I feel like, and I even did this comic strip that like it has different sentences, but the last sentence is وما زلت مقتنعة أن الفن سينقذنا جميعا. Like even when I was depressed and I couldn't create, I watched something that someone else created. So I think art and films and in general fun, and I like it. I like how in Arabic fun, يعني as a فنانة you can be anything تحته، رسامة، ممثلة، كاتبة، you can be فنانة. But like in English, artist غير actress غير writer. So I like using مصطلح الفن نفسه.
Are your parents supportive of you pursuing being an actress? Or, because I know some families are like judgmental, you know, why are you on screen? Especially if there's like a love interest or, you know.
100% they're not supportive. I love them so much. And I would give them that. صراحة, they did a great job of trying their best to accept it, or accept how like different I am, or like having a creative in a house is like hectic for them. But يعني they don't support it, but they don't trash it, you know. Some of them try to coexist with it silently. Some of them actually are impressed and secretly want to like know more about it, you know. But it's never a topic we open during lunch. Never.
When your Showhead episode came out, did you talk to them about it? Did they watch it? Or do you just pretend like it didn't happen?
Definitely pretend like it doesn't happen, but it's there. They know about it. They've seen the trailer, but like it's not something we bring up and talk about. It's still like they're doing their best accepting me, honestly, but it's not something they would encourage me, you know, to do. And still to them, like everyone can see you, and like this whole acting thing is for them is like putting yourself out there. They have zero problems with writing, but it's just acting to them is like not something they digest well. I'm always scared of them. I'm always scared of what would the audience say. I'm always scared of being like emotionally naked and vulnerable, but I grew to learn to feed off this fear and think it's butterflies and excitement instead of fear, you know. So I just I'm so used to working under that pressure and fear, and sometimes I feel like this is where magic happens, you know. Having a struggle makes you more three-dimensional. Like if I'm very privileged and everything is easy and I'm a man and I'm a white, rich, privileged man who lives in the States, you know, it's different than being a struggling woman who's trying to make it in Saudi, you know. So I use it to give it more edge. I use anything I can use to not be depressed about it, you know, and make it fun and exciting.
How does it make you feel that they struggle to accept you for who you are? Like specifically your parents?
It's tough, but when I rethink about all the steps that I did and all the rebel and crazy shit happened to me along the way to reach this point, I would do it all over again. Like zero regrets, because I always and I make sure that I mention that I didn't have it easy just so other women feel like, I want other women to feel that everything is possible and it's doable, and it's not because my parents are open-minded I can do what I do. It's a struggle, and it takes so much nerve, to do that and to fight for that. So I always try to not hide it. It's not a comfortable topic for me, but I try to not hide it just for other women to think it's doable and it can happen and nothing is impossible,
Do you think they'll ever be proud of you?
Wow, this is a tough question. I really don't know. I can't imagine them saying, I am proud of you. Like, the best case scenario, I think that they're gonna accept me and love me unconditionally no matter what, which is kinda happening, already. So, but like being proud, like even like the whole being creative to them is like a hobby. But I think that secretly they know that I'm badass, I think, because I haven't asked for money for ages. And that's, to them, like, I think means that she is working, She's not, like, in the beginning they thought I was just like sketching on the floor, like just a hobby,
And financially independent. And what you said is so powerful, because financial independence is so key to freedom. Because the minute you're like, I don't need, like, I live under your roof, I'll eat the food that is provided, but I'm able to like pay for everything else, at least when you're younger, says a lot to your parents about, they can't have a say in it anymore because you are somewhat financially independent.
Yes, and at this point, I feel like I'm living under their roof because I love them and I want to be with them, and it's so hard for me to say adios, I'm leaving. However, I am renting another studio that I can live in if I want. So they know also that I am financially depending on myself to that extent, and I'm staying with them because I love them,
Sara, this has been amazing. Like, there are so many aha moments today. I'm not overwhelmed, but I'm so taken with emotion, because I love how you said that you use whatever you have as tools for you to perform and act. So you use all the things that maybe are considered challenges, you take them and you turn them into like weapons to perform or to act or to create. That's it for this week. Thank you for listening to an episode of the Woman Power Podcast. And thank you for downloading and streaming our podcast every week. If you love what you've heard, tag us on Instagram and follow the Woman Power Podcast and Woman Power Summit account for more information on our next episode. Please leave a rating review wherever you get your podcast. It really helps other women discover the show. That's it from me. See you next week.